we going to just do a cold open here?
Well, it's not really cold. We
warmed up a little bit.
We're like a spicy meatball fired with.
Well, are we already recording right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that works. All right. Well, let's start it off with something that's not what we're about to get into because we just got all fired up. Let's loosen it up.
Pull your microphone closer to your face.
Let's
there you go.
Loosen up just a little bit here.
Okay.
What's your least, like the dish you dislike the most at Thanksgiving? Like, what is the one dish where it's like, I can do
that's
without
easy.
this?
Sweet potatoes and yams.
Really?
Oh, no, that's communist. That's communism right there in sheep's clothing and not even trying to be a sheep. That's just straight out wolf.
Really?
Oh, yeah, no.
Why do you feel this way? Where does this come from?
They are an abomination. They are heretical. They are blasphemous. I don't even think the Pilgrims probably had them. I think that's a lie propagated by big media and by the sweet potato and yam industry. I firmly
sweet potato and yam Illuminati.
Yeah. There's lobbyists in Washington right now who are perking up and taking notes and putting me on a list because sweet potatoes and yams. Nope. Potatoes shouldn't be sweet. They should be salty. They should be peppered. They should be like with butter and some They should not be like sugar.
See, unlike I like
Starburst is not welcome at my Thanksgiving. Okay.
See,
Skittles.
I like sweet potatoes, but I don't mix them with yams or anything.
Communist.
I got introduced to it by my family because I never really on my plate of stuff.
You guys are all secretly communists, aren't you?
And then my nephew. This Thanksgiving here, my nephew made a sweet potato dish with bourbon pecans on top. And it was fantastic.
Pecans are pecans. Pecans are pecans, however you pronounce it. I can handle pecans or pecans.
Yeah.
No sweet potatoes, no yams. No. I walked into Edwards yesterday, or no, not yesterday. Sorry, Wednesday, for some potatoes, and I saw the yams, and I couldn't even. I can't even stand like within distance. I had to be like, nope.
You see, I'm not a yam fan, but I like sweet potatoes. Because the other thing, when I lived in Japan,
neither of
they
them.
used to do like potatoes. They would just cook them in coals, like wrapped in foil, and you just peel it and eat it like that. It was great. It was like the sweetest, nice little thing. Ooh, nice little treat, unlike fall days.
They are neither sweet nor little nor delightful nor anything. They are not welcome in my home. I will put a photo of a sweet potato on the inside of my door that says "Not welcome here." Service is refused at all times.
See, there you go, guys. There's the guy who's just a hater on the inside.
I am. Pure righteous rage. Rise up against the sweet potato Illuminati, my friends.
What's your favorite dish?
Oh, gosh. Mashed potatoes.
Really?
Yeah, you got to put some like sour cream, put some bacon in there, get some cheese, oof.
Oh, see, you go all out on your mashed potatoes.
Well,
to me, it's always kind of like that nice white wallpaper that goes everywhere.
How dare you, sir?
I mean, you can mix it with anything you want.
No!
But then again, I've never had it.
This is the rustling of indignation papers.
Yeah, but it's like I've never had them the way you're describing them.
You've never had it right. You need to expand your Thanksgiving experience. I'll put that on the list for next year.
All right.
We'll put together a Thanksgiving podcast where we each bring like our favorite, most exquisite dish. You bring the sweet potatoes. I'll eat it. I'll throw up, and then you'll bring your mashed potatoes. I'll bring the mashed potatoes, and you will just be like, "Oh, this is everything I wanted. The Pope has arrived to bless the food."
The way you just described them with bacon, and I'm like, I've never had it like that.
Why would you not have bacon on your mashed potatoes?
I don't know. I mean, that's new to me. Now I want to try it.
You need to. Put it on your list. Okay, we'll be right back with less Thanksgiving and more, I'm not sure what the word is, angst and betrayal.
Disgust.
Coming up next on the podcast, it's Ghostbusters Day, which means we are taking to task Ghostbusters 2016 versus Ghostbusters 1984. Buckle up. We're going to do our best. Coming up next on the podcast here on Nerds by Screenlight. Stick with us, and hold on. We'll be right back after the intro.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please.
I can stop.
Talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right.
Boy. Okay, so
let me before we get into this, let me
Yes.
just say, folks, it was kind of difficult to do this because, like, how far do we want to go? How nitpicky did we want to
Right.
be? And so it's like gonna work through this and try to figure out things. This is only episode 2.
This is our therapy.
Yeah,
Podcast is therapy.
Yeah, it's like this is only episode 2, so we'll hit our stride. We'll figure things out maybe around like episode 46. But
It'll really hit its stride.
But-
That's Natural Life reference, which we will get to eventually, probably towards the end of this podcast, or possibly in a part 2. So today, here's the deal. So I had never seen Ghostbusters 2016 until this morning at approximately 8 a.m. James, you had not seen it until last night.
last night, yeah.
So, but we both, if it's not clear, have a deep and abiding love for Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and also as well Ghostbusters Afterlife. I have been a Ghostbusters fan for my entire life. There were periods in my life modern day internet where I was on the Ghostbusters BBSs, the Ghostbusters websites, watching for the news of Ghostbusters 3 that was very possibly coming at a point in the past. There was a lot of hubbub. I was listening. I was checking. I was searching.
It's all Bill Murray's fault.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway, so I have been a Ghostbusters fan for a long time, and I think it's probably because they are the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's a very much of a nerdy enterprise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Between the 4 characters, they are full-on nerds, but in their own little ways. And I think when we'll talk about that as we talk about the introduction of the characters, each of them are nerdy, but they're specifically nerdy in their own little ways.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Winston?
I think Winston's the Patty. So when we talk about Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2016, Winston is kind of just the everyday guy, but he gets sold out into. He gets sold.
Yeah, I was gonna say his mind is open to
right.
it.
He's interested in stuff,
pushing it away.
Right. And he's the audience surrogate.
Yeah.
And I think in Ghostbusters 2016, Patty is that same way. She is the kind of the audience surrogate for us, and the rest of them are very nerdy. You have Peter Venkman, you have Egon Spengler, and you have who's our third?
Ray Stantz,
and they're all different kinds of nerds.
Yeah, well, it's important to note all of those guys are doctors.
Yeah, they are full on doctorates. Like they've gotten their doctorate. It's not an easy thing to get, and so each of them is like Spengler. He's the kind of the. I don't want to say like the intellectual. He's the brainy end.
Oh yeah.
And he's and you made this point. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
In the original Ghostbusters, he doesn't really smile at all.
No. He plays it straight pretty much through all of
he's
Ghostbusters
also
1.
taking all of it very seriously because this is serious business. The ghosts in the world and all these things, but he also collects molds and spores. And so the movie makes it suggest that somebody who has that hobby and that world. They don't have a sense of humor. Well, I mean, she doesn't.
It's important to note that our 3 main characters, in Ghostbusters 1, they are believers.
Yeah, they're sold out.
They believe in the stuff that they're selling. Gmaybe not Peter Venkman 100%.
Right, but he's more bought in than in Ghostbusters 2016.
Yes.
So let's, and we're gonna tread as carefully as we can we're gonna focus mostly on we're gonna focus all on script and plot. We're not here to accuse actors or actresses of being terrible actors.
Yeah.
Like, that's not our gig here. Our gig here is to focus on story. And so if you're listening to this and going, oh, is this going to be one of those 2016 critiques? It is, but it's going to be critiquing as a language arts teacher when I look at story, when I look at lines, when I look at dialogue. As a writer myself, who just, by the way, last weekend finished his book.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
I wanted to tell you in person instead of doing it online.
I appreciate that. It's it's now going to be edited and cleaned up and figured out, but it's done. 37,000 words.
See, you have the hard part now, which is going back and looking and re-examining,
figuring out what I gotta cut, what I gotta add. So I'm looking. So I look at the dialogue and I look at everything through the lens of intentionality and what does it bring to the movie, to the plot, etc.
Mm-hmm. And does it serve the character?
Right. And the answer to that question for the original Ghostbusters, I feel, and I think you would agree, James, that yes, most if not all the dialogue in Ghostbusters original, it serves a purpose.
Oh, yes.
It gives us, but it's not deep. It's not like you have to explain everything in the past and the backstory and the exposition.
No.
You're not taking a dump truck and dumping exposition over our heads.
Yeah, and you're not dumping a bunch of weird scientific terms on anybody's brain. No, they drop them here and there, but they're not
the techno-babble.
Huge, long babbles of stuff at you.
Is to a minimal. On the other side of that slightly weird coin is Ghostbusters 2016, and I made multiple notes.
Yeah, I can see you shuffling those things.
It is 6 pages front and back of this. The dialogue is clunky.
Yep.
Like it is like I made notes, and there were several times during the movie this morning when I was watching it on my big screen TV with my notepad in hand, where I just was like, I want to look at my phone right now. I want to look anywhere but the movie.
I will be 100% honest. I was guilty of just let me look at my phone right now while I was watching, because I was trying to.
Right.
It's so hard. Like I was trying to focus and watch this thing, but I just didn't care.
Well, and the dialogue is so bulky.
Yep.
The danger, and this is to borrow this term, when your movie's more talky than it is like show.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look, or let's in our minds, if you will. And if you're listening, you can, if you've seen this 2016 version and you've seen the original, you can go with us on this journey. The opening of Ghostbusters, or the original, the opening 2 minutes establishes the big bad, the ghosts.
Well, yeah. Okay.
It establishes the city. We're in New York.
Yep.
It establishes the feel of the film because the Elmer Bernstein soundtrack is and so you're kind of like, okay, this is kind of okay. We're sliding into it, and then the things start happening, but there's no dialogue.
Yes, it's silent. You're just following this librarian.
Right, and so you go with that, and you see the books start to slide across behind her. She doesn't see it.
Yep.
And then the books are stacked, and then the cards from the card catalog, which doesn't exist in 2021 in any library. Go Google that if you're interested, if you don't know what I'm talking about. But the card catalog starts flipping, and it's a visual cue. Something is wrong here.
Yes.
The librarian hasn't quite figured it out, but she gets about halfway through, and the cards are flying. She turns around and goes, "What?" She's and so eventually,
then we get that shot, the magical shot of her just looking at the screen and screaming.
"Ah!"
And so it's like, this is, there's opening. And this is played 100% serious, like a horror movie, folks. Like, this is like...
There's no punchlines. There's no like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
There's one actress.
Yep.
That's it. In the scene, and it's set in a singular place.
And you're setting the tone in which this story takes place.
Right. You're like, okay, there's something I'm not seeing. There's something unknown. I don't know what this is. Let us now shift across the aisle and to the left to Ghostbusters 2016. The opening, let's see, what did I say here? Opening with exposition ? Cheap way to start. Now I'm going to tell you something spooky.
Yeah.
Okay, you're telegraphing exactly what's going to happen. Yep. Something bad's going to happen. Versus,
and then the facts he gives you are all these brutal. You could almost.
Class time. Start class.
We're starting class. Everybody, get in the classroom. Get in your chair.
Get out your notes and take out your pencil. Start taking notes.
And like the things he says, like if you guys go back and watch this movie, listen to what he says. It's like, okay, this clock is more important than human life.
Right.
Here's some. We made it so we should torture some elephants in this room. Yeah. It is so stupid, and it has no point.
Well, and like so you have him. It's like a tour because he's touring people around the mansion, and I just was like, what is the point of this scene?
And also, look at how dead the people are. Like looking.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah,
they're not excited. They're not. Oh, go tell me more. They're just there. There's no purpose for them. They are not a bus from someplace. They're not a bunch of tourists. They're just people wandering around, and it's almost like it would have been even. So again, as the writer in me, it might have been more hilarious if there was like just 3 people, and he was putting on a show of like, and now and they were just like. Crickets, and like that would have accentuated the humor of the moment and been like, oh man, this place isn't very popular. People don't go to this mansion a lot.
Well, see, even I'm going like, look, if you're gonna take the beats from the original movie, cut all that out. Yeah, show him trying to leave the building and spooky stuff happens to him and he turns and screams and bam.
Right, he ends up in the kitchen and knives start flying at him while he takes cover behind something, and then figure out a way, but do it in a suspenseful way. Instead, we get this and this movie shows us. Yep. Well, I'm sorry, I should say this. It shows and tells us far too much. So the door opens. Yep. And he he gets chased. Mm-hmm. Again, he says it's stupid. That was a stupid decision. Yep. And then he gets in to the basement and things start happening and we see the floor bubbling and all this stuff and I'm just like, what you are showing us far too much. Mm-hmm. You are telling me everything and I don't want to know everything as an audience member. And I know this is going to sound really whiny, but as an audience member, I want to be kind of led on. I want there to be a mystery. Mm-hmm. And in the original, you don't know what's scaring the heck out of her. Mm-hmm. You have no idea. And then it boom, Ghostbusters. And it's like, okay, boom, let's do this.
don't even show that weird device. Don't even show it.
Yeah, have like a sound, like, and him look and see the blue light and go, ah!
There we go, baby. And there we start.
But here's the other part. So in the original, like immediately, like they get a call, like they show up and she's being attended to by EMTs.
Yep.
Like it's like something bad happened. In 2016, what happens to him? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't find out until...
Did he climb out of the basement? Did he escape? Did all the crazy ghostly images just kind of vanish?
Yeah.
Like,
where's the emergency calls that would go
911. When there's been an explosion, something bad. Like, hello. Like what? So it really feels. And again, this is an attack. This is not even an attack. This is a criticism of writing. Mm-hmm. Like you are writing like. You're supposed to kind of keep your audience in the dark and kind of make us go, okay, so what's going to happen? What's the story?
And then tease the stuff out to us.
Slowly but surely reveal to us.
Yep.
So, and, okay, let's see what else here. Dialogue's clunky, but Okay, so, again, comparison of characters. How you write your characters matters.
Mm-hmm.
How you write them. You don't want them to be what they call Mary Sue's, which is they're all powerful, all knowing, and can do everything.
Oh, yeah.
And are Superman and Superwoman and Supergirl and all the things.
Which is like if you strip out everything in the movie and just leave that one character on its own, they'll still solve everything.
Right. And that's why they call it a Mary Sue.
Yep.
Now, we don't have a Mary Sue in this movie, which is good. But the problem is we have somebody on the other side of the spectrum who the character is written in 2016. And I forgot her character's name. Is it Aaron?
Aaron is the main character.
Yeah, so it's
Venkman.
Kristen Wiig's character. Aaron,
yeah.
And we're not criticizing her acting because I firmly believe that between the writing and the directing, this is what she was given, and she did what she was asked.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, it sounds, given what we've researched and found, is that there was a significant culture on the set of improvisation and kind of just doing whatever.
Yeah, the director just kind of I'm letting the actors just take over.
Yeah.
Oh, we shot like 5 hours of this one scene where they were just ad-libbing and going off the cuff.
And the problem for the viewers is with 2016, you know when it's being ad-libbed. You're like, oh, we're going into riff territory. Here we are. Hit the riff button. Bing. Here we are. Okay, we're out of the riff now. We're back into the movie again. And there was stuff that was done off the cuff in the original Ghostbusters, but it wasn't as much as in other movies. And so I think that's the power of the original Ghostbusters. I don't like Erin. I wrote down multiple times. I was like, she's not confident.
Nope.
She's not, I don't want to say smart, because she's obviously a doctor. She's been at Princeton.
One thing is, no, they hand you those details and just force them on you.
Right.
Boom. Okay, she's in Princeton. She's a professor.
Right.
She's going
she's
for
up
tenure. And they just force all these, like a laundry list of like, this is her credentials.
Yeah.
But you see her act and the way she's moving around. It's like she portrays none of that.
Yeah.
She doesn't give you any of that.
It's a significant paradox as a character, and you're just watching her going. And I'm like, this character isn't likable. She's desperate. She's clunky.
Yep.
And not even like sure she like is good at what she does. If you're up for tenure, you've been at this a while.
Yeah.
This is not like, oh, well, I just decided to go for tenure. It's like, no, I am staking my entire career, everything I've learned. Like, it's not just a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a grueling gauntlet.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to get there is not just hee-hee. And I think that's part of the writing. It's not that it's not real, but it's not set in a reality of this is the world.
Yep.
The danger. So we have the suspension of disbelief.
Yep.
And when you walk,
you can only push that so far,
Right.
folks. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You can only push it so far.
But there's also the danger of you push it all. You don't. How do I say this? You ignore the rules of the world.
Yeah.
So when you world build, suspension of disbelief is important because your world has to have rules.
Yes.
And that world, those rules apply to everyone and everything.
Yes.
It feels like in this world, in Ghostbusters 2016, for Aaron, none of the rules of actual tenure or professorship apply.
Yeah, none of the, just reality as we know it, because this is what they're doing. They're based it in our world, folks.
Yeah. And
so
the ghosts
our
have made
same
one
rules
appearance.
Would apply.
Yeah.
So you have this character that portrays nothing that would put her in the position she's in.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this doesn't happen already.
Yeah.
And she's so awkward and weird and clunky.
But not in a there's
in a good way.
Right. There's characters you're just like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like I get, like, for example, with Patty, And we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves, but I would have loved a movie with Patty and Holtzman only.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I admit I didn't like Holtzman because they never really went into like, okay, you have to kind of compare her to Egon Spangler.
Yeah.
And Egon is the mega brain, and he shows you he's the mega brain from first second he's on the screen.
Yeah.
Holtzman, on the other hand, it just seems to be like that wacky, goofy professor. It's like, whoa, I just create this technology out of nowhere. Hey, everybody. And I know this random stuff. And they don't give you anything that makes you believe that she would be able to do that. And so it's like, in that character, I feel she's hollow. She's like a shell of just like, and then most of the time on her screen, she's making weird faces and just kind of like mugging for the camera. Or acting like excessively weird. Yeah. Where I'm just like, no.
She needed some gravitas. She needed some weight to kind of balance her character. Because you can be weird and wacky. Because, in his own way.
She gets a one-off line where it's like, oh, she's just the engineer.
Yeah.
From Melissa McCarthy's character. And I'm just kind of like,
okay.
Okay.
And, I mean, she does get mad when McCarthy's character is possessed and trying to smash her equipment. She's like, my babies!
Yeah.
Like, there is that Egon-esque moment in that.
Yep.
But it's... Yeah, so
That's why I don't like Holtzman. That's my explanation of Holtzman, guys. Which is like, she's a hollow kind of shell that needed filled in. She's the Twinkie without the cream. They just gave you a yellow cake, and it's like, this is a robbery.
That's a metaphor.
And it's a shame because Kate McKinnon, I believe, could have done a good job if they would have given her that.
Yeah,
but
she's
they
a strong
didn't.
Actress.
But Patty, Leslie Jones, is fantastic.
Oh my gosh. I made a note. Again, Leslie Jones and her character, Patty, is like, she is a New York nerd.
Yep.
She knows stuff about New York. And I think to your point of having Holtzman's characters filled out a little bit, I think if Patty had been shown maybe in her little office having like posters of New York history, and maybe in the off time, like she's reading a history book and she's taking notes, and she's like,
something like that.
I gotta go. I'm making, someone, maybe a customer comes up and says, hey, I need a ticket to whatever. She's like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm making a list of all the New York places I gotta go because this city is crazy fun. It's awesome. And the dude's like, whatever, it's New York, it's always crazy and fun, and moves on. But then you go, okay, so this girl's different, or this woman's different. She is definitely nerdy. She's geeky, but she's not like a scientist. She digs into the minutiae of the world and figures out, like, okay, this is the New York we didn't know about, and here's all the cool stuff about New York.
Yeah, that's why it's like that one line we did get from Erin where she figures out, the map. And ley lines, whatever.
Right.
I would actually preferred that come from Patty.
Yeah, from Patty. Because Patty would have that, okay, well, this, and she would have been like, it's really weird, and I don't know if I believe it, but I have this, I've read about these ley lines, and here's the, I have this book back at my station, and they're like, oh, well, we have that book too. Oh, really? Yeah, we don't really look at it. Oh my gosh, you guys, the ley lines are crazy. I don't know if I believe it. And then it's like, well, it's true. Really? How so? And that leads into, here's the map, here's the,
in this spot,
boom,
in this spot.
And she's like, oh, well, the hotel, here's the history. This happened. Oh, and then
because she did give us the bit of the hotel. But it's kind of one of those things like, no. If Patty knows that much, she could know those ley lines and stuff and fill us in on that.
Give me a Holtzman and Patty Ghostbusters movie, flesh them out, fill them up, like rock and sock 'em robots. You got a good movie.
Yeah, and you could fill in the other characters as to back them up as you
might just need one more character. You might need just 3 Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and you're good.
Because, again, Erin doesn't come around until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. She doesn't have strength. She doesn't have strength. She doesn't have that courage, and it's so disappointing because. Anyway, so when you compare that batch of characters, and don't get me started on Chris Hemsworth's character. I think we're just gonna not even talk about him because he makes me angry.
Yep.
We talk about how the characters in the original Ghostbusters were formed. So Peter Venkman.
Like it's like, okay, we come back and our introduction to our main character.
Yeah, and
who is Peter Venkman?
And he is not an honorable guy, as you would say. He's more of a.
He's our scumbag con artist.
Yeah. And so he uses his little electrical shock thing, because he's trying to like get girls and stuff. And so and you're not supposed to probably like him at this point. Like, it's kind of funny because it is Bill Murray. Like, okay, he's a funny dude.
Yeah, like we have to do maybe a little backstory on our actors and stuff.
Okay.
Just because the younger crowd aren't going to know who these people are.
Bill Murray is one of the greatest and hardest to work with comic actors of our time.
Yes, and at this time, he and Aykroyd were coming off Saturday Night Live when it was at its peak, which is its early, like not its first year because it was kind of rocky that first year, but year 2, year 3 after that, it just kind of skyrocketed into amazing feats of comedy. Yeah. And he and Aykroyd were there for that.
Yeah, and they were good. They were really good at what they did.
And so that's why it's like when we talk up Bill Murray and his chops and capabilities in this movies and such, he's there. Like he was just a mountain at this time.
So Peter Venkman again, he doesn't really believe all the way in the ghost stuff, but he's knowledgeable enough to be like, okay, it might be a thing.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of doubt. Like there is some of that doubt, but he's along for the ride. These are his friends, these are his buddies.
Yeah, like when Egon or Ray actually say something or point something out, you can see him just being like, okay.
Yeah,
and he takes them at their word.
He accepted. Okay, I'm not going to fight that. That's you're because not just because
he'll make a snarky comment,
right?
But he's still with them
because he trusts them because they're all doctors. They all know their stuff.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it is that there's that confidence in. Well, they know their stuff. These guys know what they're talking about. I don't need to question. I don't need to see a study. Yep, I got it.
Like if it comes out of Egon's mouth,
right? Believe it.
I'm believing it.
Yeah, subscribing, not even asking, not even going, oh, are you really quite sure? Because they are doctors and they know stuff. And again, in the 2016, you're not really sure if they know their stuff because there's just kind of this bleh.
Well, my Holtzman comment.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like she's empty.
Yeah.
Where would I believe that she could do all this stuff?
Right. Except that she shows us in the movie. Well, the movie tells us by her talking through her psychobabble. Wow, that's the wrong word. Technobabble. Technobabble was the right thing. So Ray Stantz, he is almost kind of like our Holtzman, because he just kind of talks crazy, nerdy, like he just says stuff, and you're just like, oh, buddy, you're just a nervous little chipmunk, like you poor little guy. But he knows his stuff and he's passionate about it.
I think this is important about his characters. Like he is like the good vibes, like positive character in here.
Almost childlike innocence.
Yeah, childlike innocence where he's curious about everything.
Yeah.
And that's why he's open to all this stuff and is studying it because it's fascinating. Yeah. And he believes more people should be interested in it.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Yeah, because he comes off as weird and awkward.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff.
Yes.
But he is a weird and awkward little chipmunk. And that I love Ray Stantz's character because he's so excited. He's so gung-ho. He's like, oh, let's do this. Oh, my gosh, guys.
Yeah, he's that middle ground between our Peter Venkman and our Egon.
Yeah. He's the happy medium.
Yeah.
to make a pun on the medium Ghost World joke. Egon Spengler is always serious. But you made this point when Egon speaks, people take him serious when he talks science. Like, the dude has proven himself. We have then, of course, Sigourney Weaver, Dana Barrett, who arrives. And she doesn't take anything from Venkman. Like, like, if you want to talk about, like, a strong female character, she doesn't be like, oh, okay, whatever. No, she's like, get out of my apartment. Get out. Yeah. Like, who are you?
I'll say this about the romance in Ghostbusters 1. You'll probably agree with me here.
Yeah.
It is very awkward.
Yeah.
And clunky.
Yeah. But that's the point.
But that's kind of like the point of the thing. But it's also one of those things, and in Sign of the Times, it was kind of weird at that time, shoehorning romances into other things. But, like, she is this woman, strong, independent woman that lives in an apartment which would cost, millions today.
Yeah.
And even back then, it was massively expensive.
Yeah.
And she's cultured.
Yeah.
She plays cello, correct?
Yeah, she's in the orchestra.
And, like, she lives on her own. Yeah. So she's good and strong.
Independent woman.
Strong, independent woman.
And
like,
Peter Venkman, of course, adores that.
Yes.
But his usual tricks don't work.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's just like...
You see him throw everything at this wall, and it just slides right off because she is not taking...
It bounces and comes back to me. He's like, wait, why isn't this working? And she's like, because I'm Dana Barrett, and I don't take this from nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love
it because it's just great because you can see how desperate he gets later as they keep going and going and going, just throwing anything.
But that's the beauty of Ghostbusters and the writing is that every conversation, every dialogue, every piece, every interaction... Overall, because I would never say it's perfect, because there's things in this movie, but Back to the Future.
Well, Back to the Future is the perfect movie.
Right?
We will get to that.
So we'll leave that on the podium where it belongs, and Ghostbusters slightly below it. But it's most 90 to 95% of this movie. Everything has a point. Everything drives the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're writing stories or writing scripts or anything, dialogue or anything wise, everything has to be in service to the plot.
Yep.
It has to give it weight, movement, or direction.
Yep.
And in 2016, there is so much technobabble. I like you. I just was like, and we're done, and I'm out. I'm not listening anymore. Okay, cool. You just threw like 16 different terms that it would take me years to learn if it meant anything and what it meant if it did mean something. Versus in this movie, it's very simple, put into place. This is what the technology does. This is what it is.
Yeah, they just, all right, proton pack.
Yep.
Boom, we use it. This is what it's for.
Small nuclear accelerator on your back. Okay.
Bam. Okay, that's it. We don't need an explanation that...
We don't need to know how it works, how you constructed it,
how
what
you
it's built
amplified
out of.
its power,
It
all that
just
kind of stuff.
exists.
You don't need to. It just exists. It is a tool to move the story along.
The suspension of disbelief of the audience is respected.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you need to believe in this. This is what it is. We're moving forward.
Like here, good example. PKE meter.
Yeah.
We see Egon using one in the library right away, and you can kind of tell by the way he's using it, because this is the show, that he is looking for details. Yeah. He's just kind of waving it around. The little arms are kind of moving. The lights are going, whatever. In the house, if we go jump to 2016, I forget Melissa McCarthy's character's name.
I don't remember her name. That's how terrible her character was written in a way that I just am like, okay, whatever.
Well, did they even write her character? I don't know. Whatever. I'm sorry, that was a low blow. But look at her waving her PKE meter around. It has that little spinning thing on it. All right, and she's just waving it around. She tells you what it is. Yeah. But then when it starts picking up a ghost and it starts, that little lights expand on it, she's like, I don't even know what it's doing. I don't know what this means. Right. And it's kind of like, no, you built this. You know what this means.
You are smart enough. You are capable enough. So you are an independent doctoral person.
Well, we don't, was she a doctor? I don't think anybody addressed her as a doctor. She was just an educator at that one school, which was kind of goofy and had that stupid principle in it, which, whatever. Yeah. But it was one of those things like, no, you built this piece of technology. Yeah. If you don't know what it's doing at that time, there is a faulty, there's a big black hole in there that
you've created a plot hole for us. And we're going to sit in it and be like, what is this and why is it here?
Yeah, then it's like, why is that tool even doing that?
Right. Versus in Ghostbusters, it was, okay, in response to the ghostly phenomenon, it's moving up. And he's like, oh, we're getting a strong signal. We're picking up. And they move in pursuit of it. And it when they get to the goo, like it's going more and more.
Yep.
But they're not explaining that. It's showing us. And as the audience, we are entrusted by the filmmakers and actors and writers to interpret that and cue it. They're not spoon feeding us. They're just saying, okay, spoon's over there in the corner and go fetch it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I got to do some work to get there, but I got to figure out, okay, I got it. And they don't explain it even afterwards. Yep. Because you are trusted as an audience member to know enough, to be smart enough to make the interpretations, to draw the conclusions, to make the connections, and to infer what they intended you to infer. Yep. That's the brilliance of solid writing and solid movie making. And to branch off on a rant for a minute, I feel, it's an I feel statement, you use that in therapy, we don't have enough of that in Hollywood or television or movies. Another small dovetail, and then we'll come back. Dovetail, rabbit trail, or a dove, because doves fly.
Yeah, we're out there.
We're metaphoring. we're mixing our metaphors. So there's a series on Amazon called The Wheel of Time. Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
It starts out
because
strong.
I've read the books.
So I haven't read the books. I've only watched the show. And so, like 2 or 3 episodes in, it might be one episode or 2 in, something happens. A town is attacked by
You're good. Just keep going.
Troll monsters.
Yeah, the Trollocs.
And so the main male character is up with his father. They're on their way back home. His father gets attacked by a Trolloc. He tries to defend and save his father. You know, they defeat the guy, or the guy runs away, or whatever. And then he puts his father on a thing and carries him back to the village where they were visiting with his true-to-be love. Yeah. And like everything up until that moment for that character is like, okay, he's strong, he's knowledgeable, he's mature. Like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Yep. And then within 45 minutes, I don't even know how long, when the lady who had come to the town to seek out the what do you call them?
I always pronounce her name wrong, but it's Moraine. But
yeah, and she's searching for people who were born 20 years ago who have a special power to defeat the darkness and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, all of a sudden, when she's like, we're going, we need to get out of here, he's like acting like a petulant 3-year-old. Yes. And being like, I don't trust her. And they're like, you're being insert blank here, you're being a whatever. Yep. And I looked at that character and I said, what happened to the guy that was here 45 minutes ago? Yep. The dude that I trusted, the dude that I felt like was strong. All of a sudden, you're weak, you're cowardly, you're like, dude, what paradox? And so
you just created a dynamic in this character that what you've shown us doesn't lead us to believe that should exist.
Right. And it was...
So it creates like a cacophony in your brain where it's like, I don't know what this character is
Cognitive
anymore.
dissonance. And so for me, I was just like... So I stopped watching. I'm like 4 episodes in, and I was like, I don't like this character at all because he's now so whiny, so meh. And I'm just like, wait, you are not a strong male character. You're a whiny little 3-year-old.
Yep.
And you need to like step it up. And yes, there need to be challenges. There, you can't have a Mary Sue male character or whatever. But you can be mature about this. You can show what you had.
Like, yeah, if you have all these problems, question it and stuff like that. Don't whine about it.
Right. And so you'll have to when eventually we do our Wheel of Time, whatever we end up doing,
we'll talk about it.
It was
those books are so big and chunky.
Yeah.
You could build a house out of them.
I don't think you're kidding, actually. All right, so we'll come off of that rabbit trail detour back to Ghostbusters. So the apartment scene with Venkman and Barrett is fantastic. It is classic, like flirtation and being shot down. She calls him a game show host.
Yes, and that is perfect description of him, the way he acts.
Well, and I think because the audience and again, your dialogue, the audience is going to laugh at that and go, "Yeah, she's right."
Yeah.
So you're on Dana Barrett's side. They've softly turned you against Venkman, which you're not hard against him, but you're like, "Oh man, yeah, you tell that
like
guy."
She's 100% right about you, buddy.
Yeah, you're a jerk. You're kind of a ladies' man. You're not being real good about this. And it's just the masterful sarcasm of Dana Barrett and how Sigourney Weaver does it. And Venkman realizes fully. And she realizes that he's not a serious scientist.
No.
He is. I mean, he's got his doctorate, and yes, he's probably done some sciencey things, but he's not a serious. And so I think she's like, okay, evidence in, get out.
Yeah.
I'm done with you.
Because even like he's in there with his little like tool, which we're not explained as, but he's got it there because it's supposed to like pick up something. They don't explain it to us, but it's not important. Because he's just waving around as an excuse to be in there.
But she also calls him, and kind of in a flirtatious way, she says, "You are so odd."
Yeah.
And then throws him out.
Yeah.
So there's that playful, but also just like, you're a weird little man. Get out of my house. Don't ever talk to me again. I'm done with you. Which is cool because it does come around again. That they obviously become involved. But it takes time.
Yes.
He has to earn that. There's some weight there. Let's see what else we got here. So Janine Melnitz, which of course is Annie Potts, is
amazing.
So
it's a small bit part, but she sticks in your mind.
She's so good.
Yes.
So there was a Reunited Apart YouTube series that Josh Gad did when the pandemic was really roaring and all that kind of stuff, and he would invite various movie franchises and their actors to get together and to do a reunion. And so he did a Ghostbusters one.
Really?
Yes.
I wasn't aware.
It's so good. This. It doesn't have as many high views. At least it didn't before Afterlife came out. It might be spiking now. But there's a moment where Josh Gad is kind of doing a riff with Ivan Reitman and his son Jason.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, Jason's like, hey, I wanted to get Reunited Apart. He's like, oh, the movies I've directed? Well, no, I was more thinking you wanted to talk to my dad, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did. Okay, well, let's get him on the line. And so he's talking to Ivan Reitman and like, well, it was a movie that rhymes with whatever. And Jason's like, Dad, I think he's talking about Ghostbusters. And like, Josh is like, yeah, it was Ghostbusters. And so Ivan says, well, I guess we got to get Annie on the line. And so then Annie Potts' character, like her, obviously in her current age, pops on and she says, Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, but she's just like, she's got that like look of, the character is just her. Yes. She is that kind of tired, sarcastic New Yorker who's just like, what do you want? Like,
and who's intelligent.
Yeah.
She's intelligent and super sharp and doesn't take like anything from anybody.
Yeah.
Like, look at the way she banters with Venkman.
Yeah.
I've quit better jobs than this.
So there's strong female characters, and she is her own person. Like, she's just like, okay, well, whatever. But
she has that weird thing for Egon, which is hilarious because he's so emotionally just dead because he's focused on the job.
I think they're a good balance because like she sees in him like how he can kind of balance her out maybe. But again, that's the beauty of deep characters, right? So you've written these characters in ways where Janine Melnitz is written in a way that you're like, okay, that's interesting. And then when Spengler and her interact, it's like, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some sparks going here. I'm, as a viewer, as an audience member, I'm like,
I'm engaged.
Yeah, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, where is this ship going to sail?
Right. Versus in 2016, you just want the ship to hit Titanic. Or not the ship to you want the ship to hit the iceberg.
Yeah.
You want the Titanic.
I think we understood that reference.
Thanks.
Like, everybody save him.
I'm glad we got there. So it like... So the enemy, the big bad in Ghostbusters original is obviously the ghost, but it's never really fully revealed who it is.
Yeah, they don't give you
because
anything.
It's slowly but surely unveiled. Okay, there's this guy. He built this high rise with this stone. Like,
and remember, we don't get that until they're in jail.
Yeah. And then it starts to come out. But as an audience member, you're like, okay, well, what's the bad? Like, we know it's ghosts.
Yep.
Because we've probably seen the trailer back in that.
And remember, it's a slow ramp up.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that a little bit. It's like, I kind of want to step back, but we need to keep going with this because, like, we'll talk about the elevator scene.
Yes.
But it's like they start off slow. It's kind of like, oh, there's the ghost, library ghost. We fail.
Yeah.
Our heroes suck at being heroes.
They can't get the ghost.
And then we get Slimer, who's our next ghost that we get introduced to.
And they don't get him either.
And they do get him in that was the ballroom where they're sitting at the tables.
Right. They do capture him there.
They do get him, but they fail spectacularly on the way.
They destroy the entire
like
ballroom.
The first time we ever see a proton back get fired.
Yeah.
They blow up the housekeeper's cart.
Oh, yeah.
Bam!
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Folks, that scene is magnificent. And then you get to see our heroes are not heroes.
Yeah.
They are kind of like
the best part of that scene
schlubs.
is the cleaning lady trying to put out a fire with a spray bottle.
Yeah, she's sitting there trying to.
And I forgot about that until I watched it, and I was like, is she trying? Oh, that's a beautiful little element. Because that made me cackle. I was like, bah.
But yeah, like that whole sequence, like it starts when they're about to enter the elevator, and there's that guy with the cigar just kind of talking to him.
He's like,
what are you guys supposed to be, cosmonauts?
Yeah, no, we're exterminators.
And we're exterminators, and they're just kind of like schlubby dudes that, like, they're not heroes.
Somebody saw a cockroach up on 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be some kind of cockroach. But that's like you ever seen The West Wing?
Yes.
So the dialogue. It's snappy.
Yeah.
It's
but
purposeful.
the thing is, it gives you time to breathe, though.
Yeah.
Those jokes, there's beats between it where there's just little pauses before they go to the next funny thing.
To bring full circle, when they're in the elevator and, like, they're talking about the proton packs.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, each of us is carrying an unlicensed nuclear reactor on our back.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, good safety.
Oh, switch me on.
Yeah, don't cross the streams. What would happen if we cross the streams? Good safety tip. Switch me. And then the switch me on. So that all that dialogue leads us to when, who is it? It's not Spengler. It's who has to be turned on.
It's Ray Stantz gets turned on.
So Stantz says, "Hey, turn me on," and he's clearly unaffected. He's like, "All right, turn me on. Let's do this." Again, that childlike innocence.
Well, yeah.
Really
he does look towards the wall for like one beat, one little second.
Right.
Like look at the wall while the other two are scooting the other way.
Right.
He looks at the opposite wall.
Right.
So it's like, is he thinking about it?
Or is he not?
Or is Ray just not worried about it?
So yeah. So that's the funny part about it is like, so they switch it on and it goes.
And that noise is so magnificent.
It's beautiful. And so then you watch Egon and
Venkman.
Venkman. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting my Ghostbusters mixed up. So they lean. They kind of just
scoot around back the wall as far as they can, and it doesn't matter if something goes wrong.
Right.
They're all dead.
Right. But it's just that moment of realization of, okay, we've just turned on the small nuclear accelerator for the first time. Oh geez.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can see that like in their brain they're like,
oh no. We're in an elevator. We're all gonna die.
And the thing is, I get this feeling, like because of the way they establish these characters.
Yeah.
Like viewers watch this too. Like Egon, the only time I think they only really have that doubt is because Egon says he didn't get to test it.
Yeah. I blame myself. I blame you, or is it I blame myself?
Yeah.
I don't know how that line goes, but he's like, they kind of share the blame, but I think there is that moment of like,
because if you have the feeling that if Egon said, yeah, we tested it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody would just be okay.
Yeah. But when he says we haven't had a full run through or full test through, and you're like, oh, and so so leading up to that first moment in that ballroom is going, or leading up into that hallway scene, you're like, oh, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah,
and it is. Like they blow the hallway apart. They nearly kill a maid. Like this is an impressive tech.
Yep.
So then,
but then remember, we're winding it back. We're going back to our ghosts.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, Slimer.
Yeah.
And then they capture Slimer. They go from there, and then all of a sudden you get that montage of them catching.
Yep.
They never show you whether really go. Well, they do give. I think it's like something pops out of one of the subway things.
Yeah.
But they don't really show you any other ghosts.
Right.
But they're happening.
Right.
There's ghosts spread out.
So, have you ever seen the movie Jaws?
Yep.
Okay. So they talk a lot in Jaws about how the shark doesn't.
Don't ever compare me to the mayor, John.
Okay, I won't. I wasn't even thinking that, but okay.
That's a 2016 Ghostbusters reference. I'm sorry.
Oh,
the
gotcha.
mayor at the table.
See,
yeah. I went too meta for it. I went too far. I'm sorry.
You
I scuba dive deep for that one.
You cross the metaphoric streams. So in Jaws, you don't see the shark until fully see the shark until when Roy Scheider's chumming the waters.
Yep.
And he comes out of the water.
Oh,
and
that
you're
scene
just
is magnificent.
scared mindlessly because you've seen hints of it. You've seen the under the water.
Yep.
And that was it
We
was
need to add Jaws to the list.
I
'cause
agree.
That is magnificent.
It was intentional, but it was also unintentional because in Jaws, the shark wasn't working because the shark was underwater and they didn't realize how bad the water would be on the shark.
Oh, yeah.
And so all kinds of technical maladies on top of kind of trying to keep the shark hidden created this perfect storm of, okay, well, the shark isn't really going to show up until this moment.
Yep.
In the same way, Ghostbusters does that with its ghosts.
Yep.
It doesn't show you, it hints. Yeah, you see Slimer, oh God, he slimed me. Oh, he's
Well, I mean,
disgusting.
that's our first big reveal. Other
Right.
than the librarian screaming and they run away.
Right.
Because our heroes fail.
Yeah.
But then our long engagement with the ghost is that Slimer scene.
Right. And then we get the montage of them going around and
Yeah, and they get popular. You can see they're making money.
Yeah.
They're doing kind of okay.
Right. And they're starting to get wore out. They're starting to get tired. And
Yep.
that is when we get our audience surrogate, Winston Zeddemore.
Yep.
Before we get to Winston Zeddemore, though, let's talk about the demonstration scene in the 2016 version. In the alleyway.
Yeah.
It
You should see my face right now. It's just kind of like I'm in pain.
It isn't scripted well. It's scripted funny. Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, this could actually hurt someone. It's, oh look, Melissa McCarthy is riding the stream as like a bull.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is even happening? Like, I don't.
And they're talking about when it runs out of juice, she'll land. It's kind of like
When does that happen? And when did we ever have a running out of juice? It's a small nuclear accelerator. It never runs out of juice. You turn it on and you turn it off.
Yep.
Like, there was never in any of the, at least if I'm remembering it correctly, in 1 and 2. There wasn't a mention of
they
like,
never talk about
oh,
the
it
juice.
powers off, or I
Yeah.
don't have enough juice anymore. And that's a heavy subject in 2016 because there's also scenes where like, we don't have enough juice to defeat it. We
Yep.
don't have enough power. We need more. And it's like, but what? 4 nuclear accelerators on your back, and you can't defeat this? Like,
Yeah.
what? You need to trash the Ecto-1 into the fires of Mount Doom with Slimer riding it into the
Well, even then, like, let's go back. Okay. Here's like, sir, this is where you're talking about tools and how they serve a story.
Right.
All right. In Ghostbusters 1, our proton packs appear on their backs.
Yeah.
We don't question where they come from.
Yeah.
They just have them.
Yeah.
And then they use them, and we see their effect in that hallway when they're attacking the thing.
And
then
we know
when
it's powerful.
And when they capture Slimer.
Yeah.
And then they introduce
And they
the
destroy
trap
the
too.
ballroom.
And they destroy that ballroom, which is magnificent.
Yeah.
But in this one, we get them in that subway tunnel.
Yeah.
And we get a lame joke kind of bit where the stream just kind of like,
I made a note about that. I was like, why would you like?
and she goes wah wah, and then it immediately cuts again to them just kind of flipping some switches, and then the stream works.
It's better again. And I was like, well, why even make the joke? Like, have her not be able to capture the ghost well.
Yeah.
Have her struggle to manage the stream.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense because they're not perfect at this. They're learning.
Yep.
And so this could be their hallway moment where they shoot and they don't get it.
Yep.
And it's like, but instead it's played for like laughs, and it's just like I don't understand.
And it's very awkward.
Yeah.
Where it's like, instead of having the tool service your story to move it forward,
I said so much
you're
dialogue.
making an issue with the tool. So that means you need to address that fully in your story.
Yeah.
You just can't skip a beat and move on from it.
Yeah.
Like, just having her kind of like flip a couple switches and be like, oh, it's okay, fine,
Yeah.
it's fine now. It's kind of like,
Yeah. Well, and then my favorite part is the train runs over the thing.
Yeah.
And nothing happens.
Yeah.
You've got a mini nuclear accelerator, and they just smashed it, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about, okay, there's a lot of power in here. This is an accelerator. Like, okay, well.
And you just kind of jury-rigged it to be more powerful.
Right. And a train can run over it and not explode.
Yep.
Also, ghosts explode in goo.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, remember, I was going to talk about this as we get further into it, where there's the Ghostbusters 1. How do you defeat ghosts?
Yeah.
You capture them.
Yeah.
You cannot destroy
Right.
them.
This is not the OK Corral.
This is not a gunfight. These things don't. These proton
You are
packs
not Wyatt Earp.
don't do this. This is not how the technology functions.
2016
okay. In
rewrites
2016,
that.
they rewrite it, but this is what they do. They introduce the whole thing about traps.
Yeah.
And then just completely drop it.
Yep.
And
They
then
don't
all
come
of a
back
sudden,
ever again.
They don't ever come back. So
Yeah, you're
and
right.
suddenly
I forgot about that.
like we get our magnificent ending fight thing.
Yeah.
Where what are they
I
doing
wouldn't
with
call it
these
magnificent,
proton?
but okay.
Well, I mean that's what they build it up to.
Okay.
I mean this is what they wanted it to be.
Right.
They wanted an action sequence with
Right.
characters that are not action heroes.
Right.
So what do they make these proton packs do? I can grab a ghost and I can whip them
Yeah, I can
around.
throw
I can
'em.
swing them.
Yeah, I can punch 'em.
I can blow their legs off.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the grenade scene where she
Yeah.
blows the legs off like a couple ghosts.
Yeah.
Like they turn these items that don't function like this
Yeah.
into guns.
Well, in service of a scene. So it's not, the technology wasn't built to create meaningful character moments or meaningful plot. It was just like, well, we need a massive battle scene at the end. What kind of technology can we invent? Can Holtzman jury rig and create and show off? Oh,
And
a shredder, a ghost shredding machine.
Yeah.
What?
Why?
Why would you? Why? Like,
Oh, the magic punching fists. Okay, the
This is
two
not-
little handguns that operate off the same power cell,
Yeah.
shooting the same type of energy that
Yeah.
work better than the long rifle.
yeah. I don't.
Like a lot of that stuff, folks, it doesn't make sense.
And that's the thing about writing is that if you're going to write a weapon or a MacGuffin or a how do you say this? Deuce
Deus Machina.
Thank you.
There you go.
You never want to go that way because it's just magical. And all of a sudden, now you have a Mary Sue in object form that solves all your
Yeah,
problems.
because it's also like if you explain it one way,
Yeah.
you have to leave it that way.
Right.
Unless you have a reasonable,
Right.
built it up to
Right.
explain that it functions
Yeah.
differently later.
Yep.
They don't do this.
No. Well, and they jump the shark metaphorically and literally with the Ecto-1 in Ghostbusters 2016 at the end. They go, oh, we don't have enough power. So then Slimer's driving it, and they, put down things to get in his way. So then Slimer drives into, and then they show the things on the side of the Ecto-1, like the containers or whatever. They don't really explain what those are.
Yep.
And then they explode those, and that's what traps all the ghosts.
Yep.
And it's just like
You didn't explain. You didn't mention that. You didn't
Right.
explain it earlier. You
Right.
didn't give us a hint of that.
Well, in the Ecto,
etc.
So here's another thing. To comparison between the original and 2016, the Ecto-1 in 1984 had a heart and a soul.
Yep.
That car had meaning. That car had a relationship with the story. It was, and the siren was meow, meow.
Yep.
In the 2016 version, that's not an Ecto-1 siren. And I know that they were trying to do something different, but it's like, look, if you're gonna give it the name Ecto-1, if you're gonna call it the Ghostbusters car, give it the weight, give it the sound, because I just sat there when this is not the Ecto-1.
Yep.
I don't know what this is, but this is not it. And again, the car, it shows up all of a sudden. Like, ooh, it's all pretty. And I know they do that in the Ghostbusters 1984, but the car has character, and the car, isn't perfect, and it isn't everything anyway. I'm getting off on a tangent
you're
with
okay.
the Ecto-1 because it's
I think you're putting a little too much into it for the first movie. I think in 2 we get more of the Ecto-1.
and I might be conflating the two because I look
Yeah.
at Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 as just one big old pot of soup.
But we'll get into 2 when we get into
Yeah,
2.
we gotta- that
But
2
it's
is-
kind of like a rehash of the first one, let's be
Right.
honest. But it's they do a little bit more, Ecto-1 gets them a little more kind of in 2
All right, so let's
versus
talk
1.
about
But the thing is,
yeah.
I want to talk about 16's Ecto-1, how they get it.
Right.
Remember the scene, my uncle
Yeah.
runs a mortuary,
Yeah.
and this is one of the cars.
Right.
And then they have that whole scene, it's a couple minutes long,
Right.
about making the joke about you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Oh, and there might be a dead body in the back.
Right. Did you
It's
check
kinda
that? I don't care. I was like, okay, the Oprah joke is old. Even in 2016, the Oprah joke is old.
It's from 2004, I believe.
And then it's like, okay, well, I don't care. Dead body.
Watch that scene and look at how it's played off,
Right.
folks. It's awkward, and it just doesn't kind of sit there.
Again, it's that point in the movie where I just want to be like, I want to look at my phone. I want to look at my phone right now.
Yeah.
I want to look at my phone.
You would never drive off. You would obviously see that giant casket in the back
Right.
of that hearse. You're not
Plus, your
taking
uncle
off.
will be calling you, going, "Where the heck are you? Why have you
Yeah.
taken the thing?"
Oh, remember in 2016, cell phones don't exist.
Okay, all right. We'll just pretend that exists. That's not how that works. But okay,
Hey, we in our movie, cell phones don't exist,
and they don't. And we had this conversation before we started recording. Is in the end scene when Aaron is running around town screaming to the mayor. At no point does she pick up her phone and go, "Hey guys, where are you?
Yep.
Can I meet up with you? I
Yep.
think all hell's gonna break loose.
Yep.
No.
And it is important that we note that this movie is taking place in modern times.
Yeah.
They have cell phones.
Yep, they do. But I think what the writers attempted to do is be like, well, if no one uses phones, then the audience won't worry about it.
Yeah, we just shove it to the side.
Unfortunately, your audience is smart and they think about things when it comes to writing and whether or not this is actually any good.
Especially if you're making a Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
You are speaking to an audience that is smart.
Yeah, they're nerds, they're geeks. We do it. We watch stuff by Screenlight all the dang time.
Yeah.
So
because there's also the bit of that scene's like, where the hell did she get her gear from?
Right.
Because
and we don't know. Actually,
it was in the car.
I was trying to figure out. I was like, did Slimer just drop it off with her, or did she?
Yeah, we didn't get a scene that explained where she got her proton pack, her gear, all that stuff. She just miraculously just pops up with it. Meanwhile, Slimer is joyriding in Ecto 1, which has all that stuff.
Yep. Let's see. The tryout beam, blah, blah. Let's see what else here. I have so many notes. Okay, so Murray's cameo.
Mm-hmm. You could tell he's phoning it in.
Oh, my gosh.
He's not interested in being
and then
there.
they throw him out he gets thrown out the window, dies.
Yep.
And then I think it's Leslie Jones's character said, oh, what did he say here? He's not really... where did I put that note? Hold on. Oh, he's not really Ghostbusters material.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, damn. I don't know if that was like just a funny line supposed to make us go chuckle because actually he is Ghostbusters material, or are they actually slamming Bill Murray?
Mm-hmm.
It could be any of the number of the two.
Well, the thing is, we have to, I'm going to step it back just like one little half step because we introduced this character. All right. We have only one scene where they do something big.
Right.
And that is that awkward metal band concert that's going on in the middle of the day.
I was like, why do we need this?
And you have that weird demon ghost that's there.
Right.
Okay. And then suddenly they're more important enough to get a seat with the mayor.
Right.
And then important enough to get attacked by this guy on TV.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, wait, everything else they've done so far has been mocked by everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Where's their popularity? We needed... In the first one, they do that montage where they build up the popularity, where they show them
start
capturing
to realize
everything,
who they are.
and there's more than one ghost there.
Yep.
In this one, we don't get that. All of a sudden, it's just they're skyrocketed to be important enough where it's like the mayor has to haul you into the office with the Homeland Security agents and be like, naughty, naughty.
Right. Don't do this anymore. Stop doing it.
Stop.
Yeah, the Rock show was really disappointing for me. I was like, why do we need this? The cool thing about the Rock show, I think, was that the scene where Patty's character runs into the
mannequin
and actually genuinely scares her.
That is what's kind of
one
missing.
of the shining moments of this film. You're like, okay, that's scary.
Because I think we both agree.
Yeah.
Patty is the shining star in this movie.
Yeah.
Leslie Jones, you can play Patty in any movie. Yeah. And we would love you.
We'll give you your own franchise. Heck, we'll do like. You're a brilliant Ghostbuster.
Yep.
Because your character is at least as much as possible fleshed out, written, detailed, and we know that this is a girl who takes this seriously. Like
because you are scared.
Right, you're scared of the mannequin.
Is freaky.
Yeah.
And you react appropriately to it.
Yeah.
I think the one thing where you kind of fail is like you don't react appropriately to the ghost on your shoulders.
Right. That's.
But no one reacts to that ghost as they should.
Yeah, they just don't kind of look at it.
Those metal, all those people in that building would have freaking out and running. Look at what it just did to the lead singer. It threw him into the speakers.
And they play it off again. That suspension of disbelief. They're trying to play it off as, oh well, this is part of the show. That's why the audience is cheering.
And that's not.
No audience member in 2016 is gonna be like, oh cool, he just got thrown violently by a specter of ghostly whatever into the back wall where all this equipment. And oh by the way, he's still standing at the end. He gets back up and he's singing again.
Oh yeah, he's singing at the end. It's kind of like what?
So yeah, you just had a concussion. You just had blunt force trauma. But you're fine. It's fine. We gotta finish with the Ozzy Osbourne cameo.
Because none of this is serious.
Oh, the Ozzy Osbourne.
Because that is, we didn't need that in there at all.
It's just like, and I knew they were telegraphing it because it said on the thing,
the marquee out front,
saying Ozzy Osbourne. I was just like, please don't tell me we brought Ozzy Osbourne out for this. Don't do it. Oh, Ozzy, why Ozzy?
And
what else here?
It's just bad.
I just want to get done with this movie, this 2016 version, as much as possible. Ghosts explode. I don't like this. The Kevin character, the Kevin receptionist, he is a trope of stupidity.
Yep.
And it's just like they really overplayed it. Like
Yep.
it is, and they try to make us like him, be like he wants to be a Ghostbuster, and that's why he gets possessed because they rejected him.
He's like a 5-year-old.
Right, and it's like, no, I don't care about Kevin. I don't care that he wanted to be a Ghostbuster so bad because that only happened like more than halfway through the movie.
Yep.
Because you're using it as a plot contrivance to make me feel bad that the Ghostbuster girls didn't take him and that he deserves some kind of no. You have portrayed him as more than just forgetful.
Oh, yeah.
You have portrayed him as somebody who should not be employed or should not be working and who should not have lived this long.
Yeah, like compare him to Janine.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Janine would have wiped the floor with him.
You can't make that comparison. It's like you just utterly gave us this character that you only care about him because he's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
because Aaron's character likes him and he's got baby soft skin. Mm-hmm. Which, okay, so to make a point about this movie, there was a lot of accusations. We talked about this at the beginning. Or we talked about this off. I can't remember when we talked about this. It's been a long podcast already.
Yeah.
But the point of it is...
How far are we in?
We are now 55 minutes in.
Wow.
I know.
See, I had this feeling when we started taking notes.
Yeah, we're gonna
that we were gonna drag this one on. Like we were supposed to be.
Are you still fastened in out there? How's it going on the ride?
Sorry, folks.
Keeping your hands and feet inside, please.
Yeah, this was our podcast. We're only supposed to be 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and now we're hitting the hour mark.
That was a dream. So my point of it is, with Aaron's character, this movie, with a lot of the criticism people had about the reaction to Ghostbusters 20, it's all the misogyny and all that stuff. Yeah. And there's considerable conversation about how that narrative was built. And I really am not interested in engaging with that because it's been researched, and I don't really want to start another controversy with that. It exists, it's there. Yeah. My point is, if you had the opportunity to have a strong female character, which I absolutely think you need to have in any movie. Obviously, your character shouldn't be a Mary Sue. That's the delicate kind of disclaimer I will say. But with Aaron's character,
wet blanket.
Yeah,
wet blanket, man.
And the first hot boy that walks in, she's like, "Oh my gosh."
Yes.
It's like, okay, so first of all,
because we talked about her before, she missed all her beats on being the intellectual that she's supposed to be.
And so now she's just
now she's a teenage girl.
Right, now she's just like, oh, Chris Hemsworth, he's hot, and all the other girls are like, I don't care about him. Like they're not like, ooh, he's pretty. It's just her, and I know it's played because she has a boyfriend who they portray again as really mean and angry.
Oh, did you get the extended cut version that has all that added in there?
Yes, I don't know why I actually bought it. I didn't rent it. I made a mistake.
Oh, disgusting.
It's just. Maybe I want to go back and find ways to appreciate the movie. Maybe find something in there and there is some redeemable stuff in there. It is not okay. It's a pretty terrible movie, but there's moments we've talked about with Patty. But this moment, this line with this character arc with Aaron, that she just is like in love with Chris Hemsworth.
Yes,
it's like, okay, look, if I looked like Chris Hemsworth, I would probably be getting some attention.
Yep.
But it's done in a way that it's just a total disservice to her intelligence.
Yep.
Like, okay, cool, he's hot. You are a nearly tenured Princeton doctoral doctor.
Yep.
You are smarter than anyone in any room by orders of magnitude.
Yes, even going by our fellow Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
By the way she's laid out at the start of this movie, she is the most intelligent one.
Yep.
She's the only one we have anything that backs that up. Yep.
She's the only one going for tenure.
But she doesn't meet that expectation.
So it makes me sad because it's like you could have had a really strong female character who was just like, okay, you think you're hot, but you're not. Sit down and get the phone answered. Yeah. Like, get your stuff in order, sir. We're going to fire you if you can't do this. And the fact that they hire him is the biggest joke. Like, I get that it's a joke and it's a running joke, but this running joke has been running for too long. It's been in too many marathons. It needs a rest. We need to go put it in a corner, give it some water, and bring in a new idea for the receptionist. If you had brought in someone like a Janine Melnitz, who was kind of sarcastic and combative, that would have made it more interesting because then they would have had some witty repertoire.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
There it is. Repertoire. I got it. I'm getting it. So, like, that would have been cool. Like, you could have seen, like, an actual kind of almost antagonistic relationship between the receptionist and the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't. You just get this guy, and in the end, when he gets possessed and he becomes the bad guy, and then he's dancing, and I just wanted to throw my...
Oh, that's the worst part about the extended cut. You got to see all the dance scenes.
I will admit that I fast-forwarded through some of them because I was just like...
serve no point, folks.
No,
but
they're
there's
dumb.
Just even in the uncut like the shorter version, which doesn't have the extended stuff, there's dance scenes that don't need to be here.
They don't. It made me mad. It's like every back in the day, DreamWorks movies would end with a dance scene. Like the Shreks and the whatevers and the iRobot, they would have a dance scene to some cool song, either retro or new, and it was always so disappointing. It was like, why did you need why? What is the point? This is why Pixar is beating you 10-1 in the animated movie world.
Yep.
And this is why Ghostbusters 2016 continually and routinely fails. Because it's just like, oh, well, we're going to do this thing, and then we're going to do this thing, and we're going to do that thing. It's like, could you put the things together in a cohesive plot that starts and finishes strongly?
And keeping things cohesive, here's something like, this is going to be a nitpick, folks, but it's one of those things that's kind of important, and Aaron will probably agree with me once I explain this point. All right, in the extended version, you have our ghost Kevin.
Yep.
Like, he kind of possesses everybody
and
makes them dance.
Yeah.
In the uncut version, you don't get that dance scene. You just see everybody frozen, like statues, and the weird Saturday Night Live pointing thing.
Yeah.
They just freeze out there. So you establish our bad guy can do this to anyone.
Right. Why didn't he do it to
Ghostbusters do not win here.
Yeah.
You just established the bad guy has a power that he can apply to anyone and just do whatever he wants to.
Know the rules of your universe when you're writing, folks.
You just
it's important.
Flush that down the toilet. To be a piece of
take a small rabbit trail, it's the same reason why Star Trek Into the Darkness upset a lot of Trekkies. The magic triple blood at the end.
Yes. So it's like,
spoiler alert: Kirk dies.
Yeah.
And then they bring him back. All of a sudden now, and that's what a lot of people criticize it for. They're like, look, death means nothing now.
Yeah.
Magical triple, and because tribbles multiply, you've got an unending supply of magical triple blood that can save anyone from death. This should be in every hospital, and they totally ignore it because, again, it's a plot contrivance that serves a purpose to. Okay,
but you break the world.
Yep, you break it, and you try to do something funny with having Kirk die instead of Spock.
Yeah,
because you probably didn't have any idea that you would bring Spock back, whereas with the original they did. And so it's like, well, Kirk's a human, so he can't transfer his Katra. He can't go to Vulcan to have a whole body experience thing. There's no Genesis world out there right now, and Carol Marcus is I don't know what happened to her in the transfer over to the Kelvin universe, but she is not the Carol Marcus we know and love, and it's
I mean we but this is why people call me nitpicky because I point this kind of stuff out.
But it breaks the world.
It breaks the world. It is very important, folks, that these types of things don't happen in a story. Like, you cannot let that happen. Like, if he would have had other ghosts and you would have seen ghosts kind of just possess those people, gotcha, that works. But because he can just be like, snap, I got you all. It's kind of like, all right, there's nothing we have for the good guys to be protected against that, whatever. They didn't explain it later or earlier in the movie.
There was a weird moment where Aaron was with the mayor or something, and she takes off, and then all of a sudden it just switches to night.
Yeah.
And I was weirded out by that transition. I was like, wait, what just happened? Why did it go from day to night?
That was when he activated the machine again, when he's in Kevin's body, and he activates the machine. It turns everything to night.
Oh, I missed that part because I probably was on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care.
I was wondering that too. Is like, how did we get to night? And I'm like, oh, he turned on the machine. Dark clouds came.
That end scene battle with the guns and all that stuff it cheapens the idea because because
they did the same thing in one. By the way, folks, like when Gozer is at that top of the thing, you know how everything got dark.
Yeah.
And then, then when they beat him at the end, it's kind of light again. Okay, it's just the power. It's showing the power of the bad guy, where it's like I can turn night into day and all that kind of stuff. So it's like,
unfortunately, we don't care about the bad guy in this movie in 2016.
Yeah, they failed this bad guy a lot.
Well, and they just created it was a trope. It's like, okay, cool, he's been bullied, so now he's gonna try and kill
the world.
He's
the bullied.
It's every
nerdy
James
man. Who's very against females.
Right.
And it's kind of
and he makes like these disparaging comments in the end. And I know they were trying to again leverage it of like, oh well, these are all these. This guy is
nerds are so bad,
right? And I was like, I don't think, and I don't know if that was their intent. But a lot of people drew that conclusion and went like, okay, well, he's basically a nerd who was bullied. So what are you trying to say?
If you're writing and making this movie, you need to pay attention to that.
Yep.
That's how people responded to it.
Yep.
So you need to immediately go like, huh?
Yeah.
That didn't
go so well.
That didn't go so well.
Yeah, maybe
especially when the majority of your audience is going to be folks
who are nerdy, and have been probably bullied in their life.
Yes,
they're gonna be like, I don't.
So you just made your core audience into the enemies of your movie.
Yeah,
and it's like, why do you hate your core audience so much?
Right. And so the thing about what I kind of with Ghostbusters original, and I think even Ghostbusters 2. The proton pack and that was their primary weapon. There was no extra weapons. There was no extra stuff.
You didn't need it.
Right. You just had what you had, and that had to then you had to figure out how to defeat the ghosts and things with the base equipment.
Yeah, and just those things just helped move the story along, folks.
In 2016, they tried to add to it, and again, you don't always want to add more toppings to your ice cream. Sometimes the sprinkles is just enough. You don't need to throw on the gummy bears or the Skittles or the Starburst or all of those and say, here, eat this. It's just a bunch of sugar.
Yep.
And there's no substance to it. There's no meat. I mean, I don't know if you want to put bacon on your ice cream, but like you don't... There's something I'm going to try next week.
You reacted to my face expression of that where I'm thinking about it. I was like, how does bacon and ice cream get along?
I don't know. I've never tried it, so I'll work on that.
Maybe chocolate because the salt and the...
Oh, yeah, the sweet and okay, anyway, we'll do our cooking show next week. So the closing the book, finally, on Ghostbusters 2016 after an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah. We're sorry, folks. We kind of went all over the place, but I don't know. Like I said, we're still working on this, but it's also how nerds talk. We kind of wander... as you go.
It's the writing in Ghostbusters 2016. The writing and the direction is what did this movie a disservice.
Yes.
And it's disappointing as a Ghostbusters fan, but it's also just disappointing as a writer and a teacher that this is what passed and still passes for in today what Hollywood is putting up on the table and is serving.
Well, I would say like it's just media. Oh, we got to get back in our seats again.
Back to
I think it's just media and our entertainment industry as a whole, because you notice, look how we talked about just a little bit before we started up the real recording where this movie doesn't stop. It doesn't give you any breaks.
Nope,
it is
breathe.
just boom, boom, boom. People are constantly talking.
The dialogue is heavy. You are just it's like a roller coaster, but it doesn't have any moments where you're kind of going through the lazy river. Yeah. You're just constantly going turn. Yeah.
It's just like being on your phone where it's like people are now used to that 5-second little bits of game, bits of things. You need to be constantly entertained. Everything needs to be just little bite-sized chunks that just keep pounding into your face. And it's kind of like, no, stop.
You need to have the endurance to be able to be in those moments. The reason, and to close this out, the reason why Ghostbusters works so well is because there were down scenes. There were moments where it was quiet, where it was like, okay, we got to take that deep breath. We got to have that moment where we kind of get ready. Because we do need to, we don't want to go on for too much longer with this particular episode.
I mean, because next week we're going to do Ghostbusters 2, probably bouncing the animated series a little bit.
We still have our Afterlife review.
Afterlife review.
So Afterlife review will probably be on episode 3, so we can at least cut this off a little bit. The EPA man, of course, and I think the EPA man in Ghostbusters original is supposed to be the Homeland Security guys in Ghostbusters 2016.
Yes.
But there's no reason for
but they kind of split that up into like Bill Murray's character and the Homeland Security guys. Instead of like, you had Richard Atherton. Who played Peck. Who was the EPA guy in the 84 version, and he was perfect as he was. And the thing is, he's a bad guy because he's against our heroes. I guess anti-heroes would be more. They're schlubs. They're not really heroes.
I think the EPA of the 80s probably wasn't well liked. Which is why they got.
That's why they did that. But it's like one of those things. He's doing his job. Because admittedly, a lot of this tech and stuff they have is insanely dangerous.
It's unlicensed. It's unpermitted. I think the other actor that we want to credit, obviously, is Rick Moranis, because
Louis Tully is perfect.
He ad-libbed a lot of the stuff at the party scene, and just the way that character's played, you believe that he is as nerdy and as weird, and he's constantly trying to get Dana Barrett's attention. That doesn't work.
And he is like a meta character that is like drawing in all this stuff from the 80s. That is like, that's the guy who's just basically like a walking advertisement from 80s television. Just spewing out all this stuff, and it's kind of like, that's the 80s guy. You know, he's a running gag, and Rick Moranis is perfect. Like, I am so, like, I'm saddened we didn't get more of him because of the choices he had to make in life. But because I wanted to see more. Because when we do Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because we have to do that one too. He's perfect in that one as well.
He's a solid actor. He knows how to do his job.
And it's a shame.
It makes me sad. Other things, the scene at the firehouse, dropping off or picking up. There's a deeper story there that clearly this has happened more than once at the firehouse.
Just think about that a little bit.
The
guys.
Police department has consistently enough shown up at the firehouse in the evenings to pick up or drop off something that this is a regular. So there's that. that little moment, that little dialogue gives us a sense of like, oh man, this whole Ghostbusters thing, it's really taken off. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the whole Gozer scenes and all that. Just the battle. You talked about the deep breath, Ernie and Stantz in the Ecto-1.
Yeah, this is right before we get towards the speed up to the end.
Yep.
We get a nice,
and
good
they're talking
breath.
about revelations.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a moment for us. And we, as viewers, sit back and we just kind of ride along with them.
Yeah, and it helps you bond to those characters.
Well, and
just
they
like,
chew up the scenery so well. They're so unique characters that you're like, okay, yeah. And you believe that they're friends. You believe that relationship has been strengthened over the last couple of weeks that they've been together. And that they are as different as they are. You said this when we were talking about it. As different as they are, they're still very similar.
Yep.
And they're in the fight for the right reasons. Clearly, both of them believe very different things.
Yep.
But I really like that scene. I love Ernie because he's down to earth, and the actor who plays him is just.
Oh, you mean Winston?
Yeah, Winston. Sorry, Ernie is his actual name. Ernie
character.
Hudson is just brilliant. And Ernie's role in the second end scene of Afterlife is just. It gives me hope for a sequel, which we'll talk about. We'll close this episode out and we'll do our Afterlife review.
Yeah.
And there's just here's the thing. We could talk about the end scene. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to cut us off. Here's what I'm going to say. If you have not seen Ghostbusters 1984,
go watch it.
You need to watch it, and you need to watch it to the end, because that from when they arrive at the hotel or wherever they end up at the apartment complex. And from the moment that they arrive and the earthquake happens, the cars get swallowed up, they get swallowed up, but then they get out, they get up to the top, and everything that happens from then to there is absolute cinema magic.
Yep.
And it is brilliant, beautiful, and if you don't love
it stays true
to
what we've been established with these characters and everything else. Like you get this great heroic moment going up to that hotel.
Yeah.
Or the apartment building.
Yeah.
And then they enter in the building, like the danger, they get swallowed, and then they enter in the building, and what do you see?
Yeah.
These are not heroic guys. Yeah. They are like huffing it up
the
stairways.
They have not been doing their cardio.
Like this is our characters. They stay true to that. They are schlubs.
Yep. So just we could piece it out for you. We could do that, but I think you're better served by listening to what we've said so far.
Because hopefully, like our listeners out there, if you're younger, go watch it. If you haven't seen it, like definitely just go see 1984.
Yep. Ghostbusters. It's just a fun little movie. It's good stuff, and the end scene. It's just brilliant. It pays off everything that they've built. So we will end this here, and then our next episode will be our Afterlife review. It'll probably be a little more abbreviated.
Yeah, so just be aware next week we probably will be doing we'll be doing some spoilers and things like that if you haven't seen it yet.
Yep.
But by then it should have been out by 2 weeks or so.
So
like we should be safe to talk about.
You should be safe. If you're not, and we'll put plenty of warnings.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Ghostbuster Afterlife. Sorry, Ghostbusters.
We'll talk about Ghostbusters 2 as well, which is. I mean, they kind of.
The Statue of Liberty takes off and dances. Not dances, but walks the streets of New York, which I still love as a kid.
Well, I mean, with the music and everything at that time.
Let me high and high.
Yeah.
So look forward to that on episode 4 or whenever numbers we're on. This has been our Ghostbusters 2016 conversation. Hopefully you've gotten some out of it. If you have any feedback, if you're ready to send us an angry email, please feel free to send it to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. But again, we're not criticizing the actors and actresses of the movie. We are absolutely criticizing the writing, and in this day and age,
writing and directing failed.
Yeah,
boom, crash and burn.
Find you a movie and products and television that is well acted, that is well written and well directed and well produced, because that's what's going to feed your brain and make you be even more creative in life.
Yep.
My name is Aaron.
My name is James.
This has been Nerds by Screenlights, and we will catch you on the next one.
Take care.
See ya. You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, a language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.